Treat. We have a beautiful talk called I Am Spirit, and this awesome soul that's going to come up and inspire us in just a minute. She is a sacred sister of mine. She is a dear friend. She is my love. And she is a master of radical forgiveness. She's an intern practitioner. She's an artist. She's an automotive guru, among a million other things that I don't know about you, but I know you by heart, Rhonda. Could you guys please welcome Rhonda Mayfield? I love you so much, and I am so happy and proud of you and inspired, first of all, that you wanted to do this.
I didn't want to do this.
Yes, you did. You just forgot. And second of all, that you, again, said yes at the last minute to, well, not the last minute, not as much as Cindy's last minute,
Yeah,
but
it was 4 days before last
a few last minutes to come up and speak and take over for Dr. Kim. So thank you so much, and I love you. All right. Give her another round of applause.
I almost lost my Buddha this morning too. It's another story I can't tell to these companies. I wasn't going to fess this up, but I need to because I need to comfort myself. I'm a little bit nervous. This is my first time not on the stage, certainly not the first time on a stage, but the first time that I said, okay, God, I'll do what you're asking me to do. You've been trying to push me to do this for some time, to speak and to let your voice come through me. And, I get little moments of that, but this was a time when I said, look at you laughing, you know where I'm going. It's funny. So I said, okay, but it's been 4 days of funny, and that's what I want to tell you about. 4 days of trial and a little roller coaster of figuring out how I was going to do this and how I was going to feel about it and what was I going to do. So I got to tell you that every lingering issue that I have came bubbling up. I mean, everyone in like little bubbles, because little bubbles floating up. That's how I envisioned it this week. And that one said, oh, how are you going to lose 20 pounds in 4 days? It wasn't going to happen. But silliness like that, and oh my God, do I have any clean pants? I mean, the goofiest things, but the most intense and the most fun part of this week has been desperate prayer. Let me say that again, desperate prayer. Because I had to, oh my God, and come to Jesus many, many times to say, well, how are we going to do this? And I got into this softened, wonderful place that said, you're not going to do it. God is going to do it. And you see, that's the big part of my learnings at this point, is that I just get to show up and use this, whatever it is I have, whatever God gave me to use. So God is the doer in this. So here's my fun part about this. If we do well, we give praise to God. If we do poorly, we give blame to God. So we don't, and that's in everything. I mean, is that right? So I began to contemplate the theme of this month, and the theme of this month is divine expectancy, right? And this talk is titled, I Am Spirit. And these are titles that came up long before I got the gig. So, I mean, they were maybe meant for somebody else's energy. So I said, take it in, I'm breathing in. What is that going to mean for me? Divine expectancy. I am spirit, and those are lovely, flowery words, and they're good, valid. But when I ran that idea through the filter of my own experience, it came out a little bit different. I can show you how it came out, and I'll show you what it sounded like when it did. So we're just going to go, let that go. And so my own experience came out a little bit like this. What the heck can I do when unexpected and uncomfortable conditions cause me to forget that I am spirit? That ever happened to anyone out here? Like on a daily basis, all day long, every day? That happens to me all the time. I mean, this week was one of those. This happens to be kind of a good one, a softened one for me, because I went, holy cow, what are we going to do about this? It was unexpected and a little uncomfortable, but, I got means, and I'm hooked up. Because God is a doer anyway. So I didn't have to do too much but soothe myself. So I went through this another silly process I was taking care of myself. Can I share with you a little bit? So here's how we went this week. So, honey, you can do this. And I'm not kidding, not every day. You can do this, honey. Right? And I share with you. I believe in you. I believe in you. We're going to be okay, honey. We can do this. You see, well, I went through that all week long. And I'll tell you, that combined with the prayer stuff sets up something new. It does. I mean, who knew? I mean, we all knew. We just forget all the time. So I'm in desperate prayer mode, and you can see my backside. Is that nice? But it all landed me into this softened place that was like magic. It's what I've been looking for. It's what I've been hoping for. So I can't complain. That's just different for me. I might not go to work tomorrow. I might call in sick. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm in a softened place. I'm not going to come to work. They're going to go, yeah, right, whatever, fine. So the question becomes, what do we do when something unexpected happens? And what do we do with it? What do we do with it? So when I'm talking about something unexpected, there's a large range of that kind of stuff, and y'all have had it. I have them. Illnesses, right? The loss of a love relationship, a relationship that turned south, financial issues. I mean, this is Earth School, for heaven's sake. This is why we're here. Is that right? So, and there's a ton of little ones that happen. I think about this, walking through the grocery store and somebody bumps my cart, and somehow that little moment triggered a spot in me that I didn't even know was there. Right? Triggered some sort of a Earth School, I don't know if there's buttons in there somehow, because I get triggered often. But what do we do when that happens? What do we do? I don't know. I hope you all have an answer to this, because I certainly don't. So, I'm talking about this. These are those Earth School triggers, things that come up to give us opportunity to learn something new about ourselves, to learn something that heals about ourselves. Now, let's do a little metaphysics review, a little metaphysics 101. We know, on some level, that everything that comes into our space, we've created it. Don't we know that? Yes. Everybody's going, yes. Yeah. And we forget all the time, especially when something comes up that feels uncomfortable. We forget that we brought it into our space. So where do we go with it? Where do you go with it?
You do is try to get rid of it.
Try to get rid of it.
Talk to Rev about it.
So we're trying to get rid of it. That's a good call.
Internalize it.
We internalize it. We go all over the place. Our humanness, our human ego self goes all over the place trying to fix this. I call that place victim land. Okay? And I call it that because I've learned from my own life experience that in the moment that something comes to me and I go into that wah land, then that's an unempowered place. That's a victim place. That's that place where things are happening to me. So I become I'm at the mercy of whatever. Is that correct? Yeah. And I spend some time there. We all do, I think. And forgetting that I brought that condition into my space. You see, because the bringing that condition into my space, the knowing, the consciousness of that knowing that I created this thing, well, that's empowering. But we forget to go there. We're not even familiar with that land, really. I mean, that's our whole purpose here, is to become familiar with that land, because that's God land. That's that place where God speaks to us and through us and as us and in us and all that. That's our aspiration, right? The place where things are happening for me. The inspired place. The God mind space. Right? Now, I'd love to be there all the time. And that's the aspiration, But how do I get from over here into victim land over to inspired land? How do I get there and stay there on a consistent enough basis that I function from that higher consciousness?
Heavy diet of yogurt.
Now, you said heavy diet of yogurt, not yoga. Is that correct? Although I'll tell you, some of that yoga, so Cindy is joking, we're getting bendier by the moment. Something about that bendiness inspires me to stay in a higher consciousness moment. But anyway, so let's talk about this. Let's play from here. How do I get from victim land to over there, to the higher empowered land, to high vibration land?
Take responsibility.
Yes. Shift. Breathe.
Accept what is.
Accept what it is. All of you are on target. And would you all
Ask for
agree?
guidance.
Say it again, honey.
Ask for guidance.
Ask for guidance. That's for sure, because I'm telling you, that desperate prayer mode I went into this week put me into that place. Well, who knew I was connected, but that's true. Very good, thank you. Well, tools. All of those are tools, right? All of those are tools. And some of you may or may not know, actually you mentioned that, but I want to tell you that 20 years in the automotive trade have taught me that tools are ultimate importance. I mean, you can imagine what kind of tools we have over there, but the correct tool for the job is the only way to get it done right. The most efficient way, the straightforward way. I also learned this one, that the tools learned and then stuffed in a drawer don't really have much effect. And I got that one going on too. Tools that have enough dust on them to make another fur ball here, that they don't really help us. But tools, and of course, isn't that why we're here? Isn't that why we take her class and his class and everybody's class? Isn't that why we do it? To learn tools, so that we can not get rid of those things that come to our space, but to see them from a higher perspective.
How to use them.
Yes, how to use them. Thank you. Exactly. How to use them. Because if we were sharp enough and powerful enough to have drawn an experience to us, even when it hurts really bad, or it's frightening, or it's scary, it makes us angry, it makes us feel our anger. If we were powerful enough to do that, aren't we powerful enough to transform it, to use it, to make it be what God intended for us to do? And of course, if we sit for too long in victim land, in that space where we think things happen to us, we won't get the message that our soul wants us to hear on this. We won't get it. And, I'll be the first to admit, there are times I sit in victim land because I don't want to get it. Because it means I'll be changing in another way. It means some other shift, some other thing I've got to do and worry about, oh my God, how am I going to lose 20 pounds in 4 days? That kind of weird thinking. But we're powerful enough to have created this for a purpose. Then let's use it, for heaven's sake. Now, there are many, many, many tools that we all subscribe to. We come here all the time. Half of us live here because there are so many tools in the place. And we're growing at lightning speed. I can very much appreciate that. There's a tool that it's just dear to my heart. I've been playing with this tool for about 9 years now, and it has changed my life. It is a broad tool. It's the Tools of Radical Forgiveness. Let me show you a book. And I won't go into it deeply, but radical forgiveness is a philosophy and set of technologies that Colin Tipping put together that is a transformational tool. It's one way to look at those conditions that come into our space from a higher perspective so that we can use them. And it's broad, very broad. We're going to dabble into one little tiny piece of it today, one little tiny piece of it, because this is so broad. But, I'm feeling inspired. Maybe next year we'll open it bigger here. Wouldn't it be the time to do that? Yeah, I'm ready to do that. But I want to talk about this for a moment too. The tools of the simple tool that we're going to talk about today is called the Radical Forgiveness 4 Steps. I've got it right here, written down here, and it follows the linear progression of every radical forgiveness tool. We're not going to go into there either, but this is four steps of radical forgiveness, and you have this in your bulletin. There's a copy of that in the bulletin. If you want to use it, if you want to take it home, if you want to just tear it up and be mad about it, that's okay too. Whatever happens for you. And Chio has
No,
some
it's in
excellent
there.
wisdom. But
Just in case somebody.
this first step is maybe the easiest, but let me talk about that a bit. It says, wow, look what I created. You can imagine here for a moment, if you're in the midst of an issue. Let me give you one of mine. I've got dozens of them, so if you don't have one, I'll let you have one of mine or two. But one thing that happened for me some years ago, in my automotive business, when I was relatively new in it, is I'd get phone calls. I was a phone answerer at the time. I'd get phone calls that wanted to talk to one of the mechanics. That was the terminology. Can I talk to one of the mechanics? Well, the first call or two was kind of funny. I'd say, well, they're kind of busy right now. Can I help you? Blah, blah, blah. But the 150th call like that, wow, let me talk to one of the mechanics. I started feeling red in a big way. I started feeling irritated in a big way. And I'm trying to stuff it down because I'm trying to be professional. I'm trying to be polite. But that kept coming to me. Can I talk to one of the mechanics? Eek. No. No, you can't. How can I help you? Finally, I hadn't been hit hard enough with the cosmic 2x4 to get this point until one day the phone call and said, can I talk to one of the men? Oh my God, it zeroed in on the place here in the big spot in here of me that was wounded. I was not aware of the wound. Now, that seems really simple. Now, when I look back on it, say, well, that would have been easy 2 and 2 to put together. But we don't function that way. We are blinded to our own stuff. So paying attention to what happens to us, what comes to us from out here, what the brilliant soul has drawn to us, has got to be the key to our health and our vitality, our moving on, right? So I get this call that says, can I talk to one of the men? Granted, I did not have these tools yet. Okay. So, it took me a minute to go there, but it didn't also take too long because I was already on the path to figuring myself out. One of the men, oh my God, I hit the ceiling. I must have turned every shade of red. I'd stamped stuff around all day. I'm going, one of the men, one of the men, one of the men. Well, I'm going to complete this later as we go. I'll tell you what came up for me about that. But that was a thing. If I had had this tool, and if I could have at that moment said, wow, look what I created, it would have probably transformed me a little earlier. Okay? Because if I could have gone into that moment with neutral mind, with actually anticipation of what that might be, heck, that's a step into God mind. That's a step into not getting rid of it, but accepting it for what it is. But I didn't have that capability at the time, so I stomped around for a while. But wow, look what I created. And we can add to that for us that number 1 step. It's important to do so and to identify what's happened for us at the moment. So at that moment, wow, look what I created. This sucks! There's no question about it. It hurt. It was embarrassing. I felt ashamed. I felt little. Okay. I don't anymore, but at that time, I certainly did. So yay. So that's what the purpose of this number 1 step is, to identify that I did this. I am the powerful soul. The soul of me is powerful enough to draw a condition into my life so that I can heal a wound that I've been hauling around for too long, right? Now, one pitfall of this, and I fell into it early when I first began to learn these tools 9 years ago-ish, is the first thing I went was, wow, look what I created. What a jerk I am for having done this again. Yeah, that's kind of a common mentality, I think, and it's one when I do coaching on this work, I have to make sure we talk about that right away. Let's not go down that road. Wow, what a jerk I am. Here I am again. Wham, wham, wham. What's that? Victim mentality and continued lower vibration thinking. We want to get from here to over there, we must change that vibration. We must change that vibration. And the first thing we get to do is to say, wow, look what I created. Am I powerful or what? This sucks, but I did it. So let's bring it on and see what it's about, right? And that's okay. We get to sit and suck land for a minute. We just don't want to set up camp there. So the next step, I know, silly, aren't we? How are we doing? We doing okay? We can handle this, honey. I can trust you. We can do this. I know we can do this. Can we do it? I gotta comfort myself now and again. Give me a minute, okay? Everybody's all messed up. Let's fix that. Is the kitchen cleaned up? Do I need to go back and clean up? Done. I'm stalling a tad because this might be the toughest step to go into. Because I call this the Divine Mother step. And it's the toughest one for me to settle into. When I first began to do this work, I read the words. I notice my feelings and judgments, and I love myself for having them, but I didn't feel it in my heart. And it took me some years to get into that place where I was willing to observe myself, good, bad, and ugly, warts and all, absolutely observe myself. So I'm going to notice how I'm feeling about this. Well, the calls, the man calls, if I could go backwards and work these steps for that, I was feeling little. I was feeling shame. And I was feeling inept and smaller than. I just was feeling all those, don't forget that irritation. I was feeling angry too. But I didn't have the tool then to nurture myself through that now. And frankly, it's taken a while to get that full self-nurturing tool in place. Now, believe me, after this week, I'm a master at it. It's all good. So in judgments, I was judging each one of those phone callers as they were all an ass, weren't they? I mean, they were each an ass. I was making that judgment, and I didn't know any of them, and hopefully they didn't come into my shop, but maybe they did. But I was certain that each one of them was an ass. They might have been, but that's not my call to make. It wasn't my call to make. I did not know at the time to bring that in. And I say, wow, they want to talk to the man. I'm feeling really pissed about this. I'm judging them as all assholes, and they might or might not be, no problem at all. But I get to love myself in this moment for having done this. Now this here, folks, this makes me tear because I spent a long time in my life not grasping the idea that I can love myself. I'm supposed to love myself like God would love me. But can you begin to feel what we're doing in here? We're softening into God mind, for heaven's sake. Doesn't get any better than that. Oh, that gives me chills. Thank you so much. I like that. Nice. So this step again takes some practice. All of this takes some practice. You don't go through 1 4-step of radical forgiveness and all of a sudden be transformed. You might. I was not. It took me several years. So the next part, this is awesome. I am willing to see the perfection in this situation. I am willing to see the perfection in this situation. Now, one of my teachers, in fact, the teacher that inspired me to do radical forgiveness work, she would say, honey, if you're not willing, just be willing to be willing. And some of us were so deep in the not willing that we go on to, I'm willing to be 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 willing to see the perfection in the situation. I'm not kidding. I mean, we start out pretty deep, far in the hole, right? I mean, I certainly did. And I was barely willing to see how anything of this horrible stuff that was coming into my space could be perfect. I couldn't grasp it. I couldn't grasp it. And how could I if I'm not in God mind, right? I'm in ego mind, I'm in victim land mind, I'm in frightened mind. I'm thinking that this stuff is happening to me, not grasping that it's happening for me, for heaven's sake. So I had to be just a tiny bit willing. Okay, I'm skeptical, I'm not sure of this, but I'm willing to be able to see the perfection in this situation. Willing. I want to read a little story to you because it's funny how when God starts working through you, we don't really have to do much work. I like this. I do not want to do much work. I like to pray and meditate all day long. So if I got the chance to do that, I could do that. So that's what my week has been like. But funny, I said, well, is there something you want me to talk about this week? Is there a story you'd like me to tell? Is there something you want me to read from? And this book pretty much fell off my bookshelf, and it had a marker in it already and a whole bunch of marks in it already. Now, I haven't seen this book in 10 years, and I don't remember this book. But I'm going to read you a little story out of this book because I think it illustrates some of the point that we're at. So come with me. Everybody okay so far?
Yeah.
Any severe codependents worry about that? I got to handle it. Well, yeah, I'm kidding. Well, y'all know 911. You know how to do it. What's that, honey? The ambulance. Wah! I like that. I call 911 for you. I don't mean 911. Okay, so nothing a little martini won't take down my So Even the king was envious of him because he had a beautiful white horse. The king even offered to buy the horse from the farmer for a great deal of money, but the farmer wouldn't sell it. The horse was a friend, he said, not a piece of property. Nope, it wasn't possible. The farmer was poor, so there were many good reasons for him to sell the horse, but he never would. All the neighbors shook their heads at the old farmer. They said, "You hardly have enough food, and you could make a fortune by selling your horse, and you could keep it. What's up with you?" The farmer replied, "You just don't understand." So one night, it was a terrible storm. The farmer woke up the next morning. The horse was gone. It doesn't say that here. The men from the village came running. "Oh no, your horse has been stolen. You see, you should have sold it when you had the chance. Now the horse is gone. What bad luck." What mentality are those village people experiencing? Yeah, nice. Of course. That's our social realm. That's what we're trying to work ourselves out of. For show. Words. My kids are going, "Oh, Mom, please." So the old farmer shook his head. "Say only what you know. You're going too far with this. That is a fact, and everything else is supposition." They were making up stories about what the possibilities here. Do we do that?
Yes.
Oh my God, I should write these down. They might sell. So this, if it is lucky or unlucky, how can we know? How can we judge this? So the people said, "Don't try to fool us. That's bad luck. Your horse is gone." The old man said, "If this is good luck or bad luck, it is only a fragment of the whole story. Who knows what will happen?" Nice. Farmer's thinking with higher mind, is he not? He's thinking with neutral mind. He's withholding judgment from anything. He's not seeing this as good or bad. He's just seeing it, well, it is what it is. Now, if one more person says that in my realm, it is what it is. I mean, there are times I want to punch him in the face for saying that. It is what it is. Yeah, right. When we're in the midst of some trauma, it doesn't necessarily feel like it's a neutral place. Okay, but we've been there. Who knows what will happen, the farmer says. The people laughed. The old man must have gone mad. Otherwise, he would have sold that horse, made a fortune, and lived like a king. Well, after 15 days, something happened. The horse came back. It hadn't been stolen, but it had run out of the fence into the wilderness. And not only did the white horse come back, it brought with it a herd of wild horses. All right. So it wasn't bad luck, and the horse wasn't stolen. It was a blessing. And the farmer, the village people were saying, "You were right, farmer. It was a blessing. We are sorry that we were so judgmental." What's the farmer going to say about this? The old farmer says again, "You're going too far again. Let it suffice to say that the horse has returned and brought some other horses with it. Whether it is good or bad luck is only a fragment of the story. Unless we know the whole story, how can we judge it?" So nice. We're softening to God mind, are we not? Love it. Nice. This time the farmer, the village people didn't say very much, thinking that perhaps the farmer was right. They were going to keep their mouths shut at this point. So they kept quiet, but inside they were certain he was crazy. He was wrong. Well, the old farmer had a son who began to train the wild horses. Just 1 week after he started training them, he was throwing off one of the horses and broke his leg. People gathered around the old farmer and started talking. "You were right, old man. You were right again. The horses were not a blessing. Your son has fallen off the horse and broken his leg. La la la. Now you're worse off than ever." Well, this story goes on and on like that. One condition that seems like it's a wonderful thing, one condition that seems like it sucks, like some of our conditions feel like, right? So, that's where we are with that. We spend an awful lot of time
So what happened to the farmer?
Say it again?
What happened to the farmer?
Oh, honey, you'll have to read the book. It's right here. You can have it. I haven't looked at it in 10 years. It's yours. We'll donate it to the fall over there. So that farmer was already conditioned to see the perfection in everything because he wasn't judging whether it's good or bad. I like to when I talk to some of my clients, I'll pull out a pencil and I'll say, now take a look at this pencil and judge it. Look at it. See what you think about this pencil. Well, I don't like pencils, so it's not good. Well, or I do like pencils and it's yellow. I like yellow. The neutral mind would say, there's a pencil. Has a pink rubbery thing on the end. Has a little metal band around here. This is neutral mind. This is allowing perceptions to not, or not allowing our perceptions of good or bad to get raveled up into the story. We're not going to make a story. We're just going to go, it is what it is. It's a pencil. So when we're willing to see the perfection in every situation, this is like saying to God, God, I have no idea what you have in mind here, but I'm willing to see it because you must have something in mind or the high-level spirit of me would not have drawn this condition into my life. Is that right? Word, yeah. See, that's good, honey. Nice. Good. And this fourth step is rather the culmination of having used these because I choose the power of peace. That is the God mind. Because the God mind is like, nice. So the God mind watches me wander around through this world, watches me try to navigate this world, and I might think I'm getting off base in some way or another. I probably am. But the God mind is going, look what she's doing. She's on the path. She's doing what she needs to do. She's staying somewhat within the boundaries. Outside of the boundaries there. But it's not judging anything that I do, good or bad or ugly. It's not. God didn't care if I lost 20 pounds this week. God did not want that. He said, that would have been unhealthy. Don't do it. And God got my pants ready too. So you see I'm wearing pants. It's all good. Have to clean pants for it. But God is not judging whether I should or shouldn't, whether I'm good or bad. God is not. The only folks that do that is me and you. So let's see where we're going from here. I have no idea. God knows, it's not me. What is the resultant beauty of all of this? Oh, nice. Here we go. Okay. There we go. The resultant beauty of all this is when we get into this place. Now let's go backwards a little bit. So I created this condition at my office where I would be receiving phone calls all the time that said, let me talk to one of the mechanics, or let me talk to one of the men. I created that, right? And after a bit, I could begin to look at it, observe it, and let it be, and even be willing to see the perfection in it, even though at the time I didn't have those tools. But what came of it, and what came of it, is magical for me. Because here's the deal. I drew that condition into my life, but I didn't know how. There was not even one piece of me that was conscious and saying, I need to learn about this. Bring this on, God. There was not one piece of me that was conscious and saying, I must have a man thing. So bring this on, show me what it is. I was not aware of what was the unconscious belief system that drew that condition to me. And that's the tricky part. Is that we carry around these belief systems. They're all programmed from, who knows, from our grandparents to our parents to our workplaces to our social connections. They're programmed and we're carrying them around like little baggages that get to come up when we need them, right? So that piece of information, let me talk to one of the men. When I was willing to go into softened mind about that, I was willing to in one way or another say, I can't take this job. I'm going to quit this job. I don't like it. This feels terrible. Desperate mode. Calls for desperate measures, I think. Well, I was carrying around a belief system that I wasn't as good as a man. That because I'm a woman, I'm not powerful. And because I'm a woman, I certainly shouldn't be in that place. I was in a mechanic shop, for heaven's sake. That's a man's world, right? I didn't have any place in there, but I did not know consciously that I was carrying around a belief system that I wasn't powerful because I was a woman. Now, women, how important would it be to know that? To know who we are. That doesn't mean that I have to think I'm more powerful or less powerful. I just get to claim who I am. And I can tell you, without that experience, I wouldn't be standing here. Because I had to come to terms with me as a person, as a human being, and as a woman. And those guys that call me, they might have been asses. They might have been. They were who they were. Everybody, what did you say, Mikey? I'm an ass sometimes too, it's all there. They were healing angels for me. They they were absolutely healing angels for me. They brought to me something, they attracted to a wound I was carrying around so that I could fix it. I could actually let God fix it. And that, folks, has transformed my life. I still own an auto shop. Believe me, I do not get those calls anymore, ever. And if I did get one, I would know right away where to go in that, right? I would take it inside right away. So look, this is the things I like to teach about. This whole process takes us into that neutral mind and reminds me of the I am spirit me. Because I don't have to judge anything. I don't have to do. I don't have to be. The condition then gets to tell its story. The condition that day was that there was a belief system in me. And without softening into that non-judgmental place, into that neutral mind, that condition could not have told its story to me. See, this is the beauty of this. I like this one. God can get a word in edgewise when I get my judgmental self out of the way, when I get my emotional self out of the way, when I'm willing to get into neutral mind. God can get a word in edgewise. And the prima donna one. We gain awareness of and healing of the belief system that summoned the condition. See? And it's no longer an impediment in our path. Right? I want to know if you'll go through 4 steps with me. We're not going to do anything deeply profound, but would you be willing to go through it with me? 4 steps. I'll let you look at them again. And of course, you have little sheets in your bulletin. It's amazing. It's almost time. Thank you, folks. We did this. I know.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's do this together. I'm gonna say the line and ask you to repeat it with me. If you would take just a moment and pull up some condition that's happened in your space now, something that's irritating you. Somebody said something, or some relationship issue, or an illness, or something that has threatened your control. That's the thing. Threatened your belief in control, or the illusion of control. Bring something up if you can. And again, if you don't have one, I'll let you borrow some of mine. But bring into your mind now the knowing, the high conscious knowing that you created it. And repeat after me. Wow! Wow! Look what I created. Yeah, nice. Now, does that feel empowering? Doesn't it feel empowering? I mean, there's good news in that, because if I created it, guess what? I have a little power around it. So I created it. What's that? To change it, to transform it. Yeah, I love this. So next one, again, now this one we're going to soften into divine mother mind on this one, okay? I notice my feelings and judgments. Repeat after me. I notice my feelings and judgments. And I love myself for having them. Nice. That's a self-observing, self-nurturing statement. I use it all the time, even when I'm not doing this 4-step thing. Now, here's the tough one. I am willing to see the perfection in this situation. I am willing to see the perfection in this situation. Nice. That's all I feel. Because I choose the power of peace. Because I choose the power of peace. Nice. How y'all feel? I hope that you try this. I hope that you get into this. I want to remind you of the book from which this comes. And again, this is pretty broad stuff. Oh, yes, you can. You can take all my stuff away. It's all good. Take my baggage away. I like it. Nice. Nice. Just don't knock Buddha over again. So this is the book from which this comes. It's Radical Forgiveness. Its author is Colin Tipping. Brilliant. Strange, unusual man. We've met him several times. Who here knows Radical Forgiveness? You do? You know a little bit of Radical Forgiveness? You do? You do? You do? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Nice. I love it. Nice. And it's profound stuff. We've got a couple of these books in the bookstore. If you're interested, or come see me. I'll turn you on to some other resources. But in the moment, let me tell you how much I appreciate that y'all are here. Now I don't have to have a first of this anymore. I get to have a second, maybe a third, if they'll invite me back. But thank you for being here. Thank you for coming. Thank you. Nice.